Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Naomi Hausmann. Thank you for joining us. I am the Director of Institutional Advancement at Gratz College. I really appreciate you joining us for this very first webinar in the Gratz Student and Alumni Speaker Series. With this webinar series, which begins tonight and goes every night until Thursday evening, we aim to introduce our community to just a few of the many Gratz students and recent alumni who are doing innovative work to make the world a better place. After this webinar tonight, I will email the full schedule of presentations for the remainder of the week. The webinar series is part of a larger campaign called the Gratz Giving Countdown to Commencement. This campaign aims to raise scholarship funds for needy students at Gratz between now and the online commencement, which takes place exactly a week from today, from this moment, Sunday, August 30th. You can participate in the online commencement, and we encourage you to. And we also encourage you to make a gift as part of this campaign. We are asking folks in our community, alumni, and all who care about Gratz to make a tax-deductible gift between now and Sunday of $20.20 for a virtual seat at our commencement in honor of our 2020 graduates. You can make this gift to pay tribute to the whole class of 2020 graduates, or to make tribute to someone special to you, such as one of the graduates you may know, a faculty member, or one of our honorees. As you may have heard, Ernie Collins will be receiving the Honorary Alumni Award at our commencement this year, or you can make a gift in memory of a loved one. So I will also send a link to that following this webinar as well. So tonight, I am very excited to welcome our featured presenter, Elijah LaPrince Sr., as well as Dr. Ruth Sandberg, who will formally introduce Elijah and facilitate the conversation about building bridges in a divided world. A quick note about tonight's presentation. All participants will have their video and audio turned off. You will be able to hear and see the speaker, but no one else can see or hear you. Time permitting, we will also take questions at the end of the presentation. To pose a question, simply use the chat function, which can be found in various locations on your screen, depending on what type of media you're using tonight. On desktop computers or laptops, the chat function can be found at the bottom of your screen. On tablets, it is often at the top of the screen. On cell phones, you may have to swipe left or right. So hopefully that is helpful. So now it is my honor to welcome Gratz College President, Dr. Paul Finkelman.
Thank you very much, Naomi. This is indeed a special year for Gratz. It is our 125th anniversary, and we are also celebrating our 120th commencement. Obviously, there's a short time gap between the opening of the college and the first commencement. We actually had to have students come and register and then graduate. But we are celebrating our 120th commencement this year. It will, of course, be online because that is the world that we are in at the moment. And in preparation for that, we have this online event today, and we will be running events for the rest of the week. At graduation, which will be a week from today, we will be honoring, of course, the students who are graduating, getting master's degrees and doctoral degrees and bachelor's degrees. We will also be giving an honorary degree to Dr. Stephen Pilch, who currently teaches in the Graduate School of Education at the University of Pennsylvania. And we will be giving an alumni award. We will make Ernie Collins an honorary alum of Gratz to recognize the 40 years that he has spent with Gratz. He is our longest serving Gratz employee. Our second longest serving Gratz employee, considerably less than 40 years, is Dr. Ruth Sandberg. She holds the Leonard and Ethel Landau Professor Chair of Rabbinics at Gratz College. Ruth wears many hats. Ruth is the director of our Jewish Christian Studies program. She is the director of our Masters of Arts in Interfaith Leadership, and she just opened a program which she designed, which is both a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in human rights. These programs have one thing in common, other than that they are all led by Ruth, and in a sense they are Ruth's intellectual children. They are also instrumental in Gratz's commitment to Tikkun Olam, to making the world a better place and to repairing the world. And these programs are, in fact, part of repairing the world. Tonight, we will hear from one of our students who is, in fact, also involved in making the world a much better place. And so it is a great pleasure to introduce Ruth. I will turn it over to her. I will then be muted, and I can have the pleasure of listening to her speak and then learning from Elijah LaPrince. Again, thank you all very much for being part of Gratz tonight and this week, and I hope many of you will be able to come to graduation. Again, it will be online, so you don't have to get dressed up to come. See you soon. Bye.
Thank you very much, Dr. Finkelman. It's really a pleasure for me to introduce a student who is graduating this year, and one who I feel very fortunate to have worked with and worked as his academic advisor. And I would like everybody to hear a little bit about Elijah LaPrince Sr. Elijah is going to be receiving his master's in Jewish professional studies from Gratz at this graduation. He was born and raised in Philadelphia and is the fourth of 7 children. And he was educated in the Philadelphia school system, so you must know a lot about how the Philadelphia school system works or doesn't work. Elijah currently resides in Douglasville, Pennsylvania, and he is the father of 3 children. This September, he is going to be celebrating 23 years of marriage to his wife, Dr. Shelley L. LaPrince. Elijah is also the co-author of a work called A Mother's Desire, A Father's Prayer, and God's Promise. This is a publication which highlights the triumphant journey that he and his wife took from infertility to parenthood. Elijah has nearly 20 years of experience providing leadership and consulting in the facilities management industry. He provided oversight to various hospital initiatives across the United States, ensuring compliance with regulatory standards. And in his current role, Elijah serves as a director of support services for a continuing care retirement community in Berks County in Pennsylvania. So Elijah, that's just a short summary of your biography, which I'm sure is going to continue and have many other accomplishments added to it. So I have the pleasure of being the interviewer, and you are going to be responding to some questions that I think are really going to be interesting and pertinent because we're so much involved at Gratz in talking about issues that relate to everybody in the world today. So I'm going to start with my first question by asking you about your definition, how you see what it means to build bridges in a divided world. And I know this is something that you care deeply about.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Sandberg. I appreciate the opportunity to speak on behalf of Gratz Colleges. It's truly an honor to be here this evening. Building bridges in a divided world. I think that with the climate that we have currently, that it's essential that we come together to recognize the things that our society has shown us. With the recent events of social injustices, it basically gives us a reflection of where we stand as a society and where we stand as a people. So I think that this is the time for us to come together to help to and start to address some of the very difficult issues or topics that face us as a people and as a Jewish community.
So here's my next question. I would love for you to share with everyone why you chose the program, the specific program of the MA in Jewish Professional Studies. What was it about that program that attracted you and was the one that you felt fit you best?
Well, initially, when I came to Gratz, I was looking at the Master's in Jewish Studies. And after I was comparing that program against the Jewish Professional Studies, I was drawn to the flexibility of the program of Jewish Professional Studies. I was looking for a program that I could develop both professionally and personally. And I felt that the Jewish Professional Studies program offering and selection of classes will fits my needs in both categories.
Yeah, it's one of the strengths of that program that students can really kind of craft their own. You decide what courses you want to take and what works best for you in terms of all the course offerings that we have. So this is kind of follows naturally from that first question. And this question is, what would you say you gained professionally from your studies at Gratz College?
Well, professionally, we had an opportunity to study about the Abrahamic faith. And when studying about the Abrahamic faith, you learn not only about the Judaic faith, but you also learn about the other Abrahamic faiths. And one of the greatest benefits that I drew from that was learning about how to connect for the other communities that surround us. In my current role as a director at support services, I have three supervisors. One of them happened to be a Hispanic Catholic. One of them is a Catholic, a European Catholic, and the other one is a biracial Muslim. So it was so important that how the things that I've learned about through our studies of the Jewish Professional Studies and studying about the Abrahamic faiths had a direct correlation to me and working with in my current role. So I felt that was very beneficial, because in order to have production in any workplace, you have to be able to connect and identify with the people who you work with and the people who you serve.
That's great. And certainly one of the things that students are really pleased to learn about from those interfaith courses is we share a lot more in common. We have a lot more similarities than we do differences. Okay, one of the things that makes Gratz, I think, very unique as an academic institution is that we're also very interested in what our students gain personally from their studies at Gratz. So my next question is, what would you say are the most important things that you benefited from personally, aside from the professional training that you got? What do you think are the most important personal benefits that you got from Gratz?
Well, there were several benefits that I received personally. One, my advancement in the Hebraic language, and to be able to learn that. I felt that was going over, at the time, I would go over different prayers with my son, who's also in a Judaic program, and I would share that experience with him. I also had an opportunity to take Dr. Feinberg's class on teaching Torah to children. And we went over certain strategies on how to discuss the Torah, et cetera, to younger children. And I felt that was also a really good benefit, because as we went over the strategies of different things of how to go over that, introduce that information to our children. For years, I would just read the Torah and we would just try to explain it to our children. But when some of the content in our Torah is not always appropriate for adolescents. So she explained us how to, break down and extrapolate certain subject matter when teaching Torah to children. So those are things that I was able to kind of put directly in play. I also gained a lot from being able to study alongside of the knowledgeable professors at Gratz College. I think that's one of the benefits that's kind of really understated, is that Gratz has a selection of very knowledgeable professors. and just hearing their feedback and the feedback of the peers that I was in class with, just having that dialogue, I think was a very awesome benefit as well.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. Thank you for saying that. Speaking of, let's return again to how your experience at Gratz has also impacted and has played a role, obviously, in how you see the current world situation. So I would really appreciate it if you could take some time to talk about how, what an impact race has in terms of religion.
Well, this is something that we discussed. Had an opportunity to take a class with Dr. Joe Davis on Jewish thought.
Mm-hmm.
And during our class, the topic of who is a Jew was discussed during a platform.
Yeah.
And I thought that the discussion was both enlightening, provocative, and enriching. And it was interesting to hear some of the comments that were shared as we discussed that topic. And as a Black Jew, I realized just after that discussion, really the urgency that was needed to build bridges to connect people, and also to raise the awareness of diversity within Judaism, and to address the discrimination that exists as well in our world. Blacks are often viewed as Christians or Muslims. You tell somebody that you're a Christian, they give you no second thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
You tell somebody you're a Muslim, they give you no second thoughts. You tell somebody you're a Jew, they then start to question the fact that you're a Jew.
Mm-hmm.
Most people that you talk to have only identified Black Jews. They'll say, well, I know only Black Jew I was aware of is Sammy Davis Jr. So the awareness needs to be raised in regards to how many Black Jews that we have out there, how many active practicing Jews that we have out there. So part of it is discrimination. Part of it is the lack of awareness. So I felt that our experience as a Black Jew, my experience as a Black Jew is really unparalleled to other people, because you have, on one sense, you're getting discriminated against first by your race and then by your religion. So having to balance both of those things. So as a Black man, I felt targeted for racial discrimination, and then discrimination as a Black Jew. I'll give you a couple of examples.
Mm-hmm.
When we all witnessed the tragic death of George Floyd, and the police brutality and unlawful policing is not something that is new. I think this is something that has been going on for many years. It's just recently that we have been able to capture with the cameras on the cell phones of some of the things and some of the discriminatory practices that have taken place. Me personally, I can recount, going into department stores, being followed around because they think you're a fear of theft. I can recall numerous times when you're being pulled over by police officers and really no valid reason. And you would ask why you're being pulled over, you give your information, and they really don't, in many cases, don't have a legitimate reason to speak to of why you were targeted or why you were pulled over. So I think that those things we need to really try to highlight. Most recently, my wife and I, we were on vacation, and my wife has also been targeted. We'll go to a resort, or I've been in a hotel, and someone will say, they look at my wife and they'll say, where are the towels? Or where's they're looking at you as someone who's employed by the facility, but not just vacationing as all other patrons.
Mm-hmm.
I also had an experience where when we were in Orlando, Florida, a family went to Florida. We were on vacation. I was with my family and a few of my friends. We looked up a local synagogue because we would be there over the Sabbath. We went to the Sabbath service. We were in suits. We were in ties. We had talit. We had our talit bags, kippot. We were ready for service.
Mm-hmm.
We come to the synagogue and they questioned us and asked us, why was it that what were we doing there? Wanted to understand wanting to understand what was our purpose for being there. And we
Wow.
were really just coming to just join our voices with theirs for the Shakari services. So these are things that have been going on far too long. And we want to just kind of raise awareness and understand, how do we address these situations. Another example is when my wife and family goes shopping for groceries. We would go looking for kosher food. We'll go to the kosher counter, and we'll have managers, the workers, asking us, "Are you looking for kosher? You know, there's cheaper meats around the corner." We'll try to order lunch meat at the lunch meat counter, and she'll say, "Are you sure you're looking for kosher?" So the whole idea needs to be raised that when you come, I'm standing at the kosher counter, we're ordering, and it's not until they start recognizing us over a number of time of coming there till we start receiving the regular customer service like any other patron that's participating inside of the grocery store. One last example I would share is my sister. She married a white Scottish man who later converted to Judaism. And they got 5 children now, but she was trying to educate her children, and they had them in Jewish day schools. She would show up to pick up the children, and they would look at her as she was the nanny or the babysitter. So many people don't see a Black face and associate it with Judaism.
Wow.
So what I would like to do is to see how is it that we can move the discussion forward so that we can raise awareness around some of these things that have taken place over so many years.
Elijah, all I can say is that you represent the best of 2 great cultures, and you are going to be, you are and are going to continue to be a wonderful representative for both of those cultures. And I know that you are very proud of being Black. You're very proud of being a Jew, and you are really a tribute to both of those cultures. And I feel very honored that I had you as a student and that you are now a graduate of Gratz College. So I wanted to say thank you so much for sharing some of your ideas and some of your thoughts with us. And I expect to see your name over and over again as someone who is really going to be making a major contribution to, as Dr. Finkelman said, to Tikkun Olam, because that is really what your whole goal is, to make the world a better place. So again, thank you so much for participating tonight. And I'm going to turn this back over to Naomi now, because I think, do we have some time for a few questions?
There were a couple.
We do have time, so yes, we're good. If you want to take whatever questions you see in the chat.
Okay, Elijah, you want to add something?
Yeah, so there are a couple of questions that, as a result of those things, some of the questions that are often raised that we have to answer as a community and as a society is, who is a Jew?
Oh, that's a
and who decides what individuals will be accepted as Jews? Then you have to look at, why is Judaism viewed exclusively as a Eurocentric religion? Because this idea will exclude all other nationalities from being Jews.
Right.
Then you have to ask, why are Jews being discriminated against because of their religion? Or why are Jews discriminating against other sets of Jews?
Right.
And how do we create a culture for religious acceptance? One of the things that we look at as the Abrahamic faiths is that they have a commonality in the fact that love thy neighbor as thyself.
Absolutely.
And this is something that is practiced. Even when it was addressed in the Talmud, Rabbi Hillel, they asked him, what is the single most fundamental principle in Judaism? His response is, do not do to your friend that which is hateful to you. So the Torah commands us to express this in a positive sense, to love thy neighbor. So what we have to ask ourselves, and one of the final publications of Dr. King that he wrote, a pivotal question was, where do we go from here? So I
So,
feel,
yeah.
as a alumnus, I feel that I'm empowered to assist in bridging a gap in our divided world and advocating for equality and access to Jewish education, awareness, and diversity within Judaism. So this is what Paul had referenced in the opening. And when we address these things honestly, this will bring us closer to Tikkun Olam.
Amen. That's
So
a great statement.
we
Go ahead,
have a
Naomi.
we have a Kol Hakavod Elijah for you, but we also have a question from one of our we actually have several Kol Hakavods. One of the questions that came through is a question about which affects you more, racism or anti-Semitism?
I think that both of them affect me.
Yeah.
Because when you're dealing with, you get it on both sides. So racism, you're affected first. I think that racism will probably be deeper because when they see me first, they see me as a Black man.
Right.
It's not until they know me to be a Jew till they discriminate against me of being a Black Jew. So your face is first seen. So when they see you, they see a white woman. They won't even know that you're a Jew. But then later when they find out, now that adds on there. So it's almost like a double negative. But despite that, I walk in pride, and I know that God has provided us this opportunity, and He has protected my family, and I am grateful to walk in His faith. And even after the tragedies that have taken place in the Holocaust, you had a lot of people after that experience that did not want to be identified as Jews. They were hiding the fact that they were Jews, fearful of more attacks or fearful of more discrimination. So I think that I wear it on both layers, but I am hopeful for the things to come in the future.
There's another question here that came through. Do you believe that if an African American wears, I think it says maker, but I believe the meaning is, I think the intention was kippah, that would help with questions about being Jewish?
Oh, that's a good question. Does it help?
If African, can you repeat the question again?
I think the question is, do you believe that if an African American would wear a kippah, that would help with questions about being Jewish? And the person who wrote that, if I got that wrong, please enter that into the chat.
Okay, so I do think that when you're wearing a kippah, it will help identify you as a Jew, but I don't know if that would necessarily eliminate the discrimination that you feel or the directed towards you as being a Black Jew.
Yeah.
I have a question myself. As a parent of 2 kids who are both Jewish and African American, I'm wondering if you can speak from a parent perspective. How do you put your kids out in the world feeling strong about their identities, their full identity?
I think it starts in the home. That's one of the things that I referenced about teaching Torah to children. I understand, I teach my children a responsibility of what it means to be first Black and then to be Jewish, and that those things are not mutually exclusive. I also believe in it's important that we go over, like one of the things that I teach my children a prayer. So you go over the prayer. So going over the Shema with my 5-year-old, going over the morning prayers, the Shakri services with my 10-year-old, understanding that this is who we are, and embracing your Jewish identity is a part of your lifestyle. And we were commanded to teach our children. This is not something that Torah commands us to teach our children. So we have to go and we have to embrace it. First, you have to know it in order to be able to teach it. And the idea is that when I'm long gone, that my children and that my grandchildren will be able to stand and to recite the Shema and to live this Jewish practice and cultures that they have handed down to us from prior generations.
Well, I think that's all the questions we have. Ruth, would you like to make any final comments before I wrap up the session?
Well, all I could say is Elijah represents, I think, just the ideal grad student. He is completely committed to Judaism. It is the core, one of the cores of his identity. He takes his own responsibility to be an observant Jew and a faithful Jew. He takes it very seriously. He sets very high moral standards for himself and his family. And I am really, really honored that Elijah is one of our graduates. And thank you again, Elijah, for sharing your own personal story and the struggles that you have had. And all you want in life is to be respected as an African American and as a Jew. And I pray that the day comes when that will be true, not just for you, but for everybody.
Well, that is a beautiful note to end on. Thank you both so very much. I'm honored to be in your presence tonight, and to all of you for joining us. It's definitely a feeling of deeper connection and less division when we come together like this and learn together as a community. So let's do more of this, and let's stay connected. And I wish you all a wonderful evening, and I will be in touch by email with information about the rest of our series. Thank you all so very much. Have a good night.
Thank you so much, and have a great.
Thanks again, Elijah. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking time out to talk to everyone.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.